Subaru Natsuki wakes up on the cold floor inside the tomb at the sanctuary right after dying and returning by his power, returned by death, and he instantly realizes Emilia is beside him, shaken and exhausted from failing the trial again. He comforts Emilia and takes her out. Then in Ryuzu's house, he admits in front of Emilia, Ram, Garfiel, and Otto that he himself is also qualified to take the trial and that he already passed the first one, which shocks everyone, especially Emilia, who has just failed and is fragile. Subaru suggests a plan to clear the trials in Emilia's place to free the sanctuary faster and spare her pain. But Garfield surprisingly opposes this, saying that only Emilia should clear the trials, and Ryuzu agrees because Roswaal's plan expects Emilia to gain that achievement herself for her standing in the royal selection. Emilia, feeling the weight of responsibility, believes she must face her past to become king and help both the villagers and the people trapped by the barrier, while Subaru struggles between sparing her pain and respecting her resolve. Ram ends the argument for the night by putting Emilia to sleep with calming incense, and afterward, Subaru meets Roswaal to negotiate releasing the Earlham villagers from the sanctuary since Emilia, as a qualified person within the barrier, already fulfills the hostage purpose, and others need not remain trapped. Roswaal agrees to push that proposal, but adds a condition when Subaru insists on returning at once to Roswaal Manor to check on Frederica, Petra, Beatrice, and the sleeping Rem after his recent death there by Elsa Grimhild, the Bowel Hunter. Roswaal says Subaru cannot go alone and orders Ram to accompany him, because Ram is the only reliable combat help available while Roswaal is injured. Emilia cannot leave, and Otto is not a fighter. At dawn, Subaru and Ram set out on Patlash, Subaru's land dragon mount, and Garfiel comes to see them off, gruffly accepting Roswaal's decision to negotiate the villagers' release and warning Subaru not to do anything reckless. Subaru asks Garfiel for a crystal like Frederica's, and Ram presses him by appealing to his feelings for her, which makes Garfiel toss a blue crystal pendant their way. Subaru hopes it will matter when they face Frederica. During the ride, Subaru brings up something vital to Ram. He tells her about Rem, her younger twin sister, whom Ram now does not remember because Rem was erased from the world's memory after the witch cult's attack. Ram feels an odd ache when Subaru jokes about throwing her as a decoy, as if it had happened before. And Subaru realizes those nails of memory around Rem are loosening in the world and must be fastened again. So he speaks carefully to protect Rem's place in Ram's heart. Subaru's mind is on two urgent goals at once: return to the mansion before Elsa hurts Petra, Rem, or Beatrice, and also keep moving the sanctuary toward freedom without breaking Emilia. He knows that delaying either problem will get people killed, so he chooses the fastest safe route back and trusts Otto to keep Emilia company and Garfield to guard her while he is gone. Subaru and Ram reach Roswaal Manor earlier than in his last loop, and Subaru's heart eases when Petra greets him at the gate with a smile and a polite bow, safe and cheerful. He cannot help hugging her out of relief, and Ram scolds his flustered behavior, while Petra, proud of her work, introduces herself properly to Ram and shows she has grown since Subaru met her in the village. Petra explains that Frederica went into the forest to inspect and reinforce the barriers for the returning villagers, and that nothing strange has happened inside besides Frederica sometimes looking out with a worried face, likely thinking about Emilia and Subaru. With Frederica away, Ram asks what to do, and Subaru decides to check on Rem first and then see Beatrice, because he is afraid Elsa may be inside and because Beatrice's decisions in the Forbidden Library are a critical unknown. He carries Petra's handkerchief on his wrist as a charm and promises to come back safe, and he thinks through his options. If Elsa is present, fighting her head-on is foolish and running is best. But Beatrice is locked inside the library and cannot be evacuated, turning any retreat into a trap. Subaru opens the way to the Forbidden Library and reaches Beatrice, who holds the mysterious gospel book, and he begs her to leave with him so he can save her, Petra, and Rem. But Beatrice answers that everything Betty has done is written in this book, and that she is waiting for the one who will come, a fate she cannot change on a whim. When Subaru presses that the gospel is wrong and that she is not a doll, only a girl who can choose, Beatrice's feelings burst out, and she screams through tears that all of Beatrice is for mother's sake, and that Subaru is nothing to her but a human intruder who cannot move her heart. At that moment, the assassin Elsa enters the mansion and walks toward the library, stepping past Subaru like a dead man and heading for Beatrice, treating him as already finished prey. Subaru, broken and bleeding, still reaches out to slow Elsa with a bloody hand, and her blade calmly takes his wrist off, while he sees Beatrice's face twist with sadness as another death comes and the scene goes dark. Before that earlier loop's death, in the mansion's chaos, Elsa slaughtered those who stood in her way, and Subaru felt again her taste for killing and her refusal to let prey escape. The same killer who had taken lives in the capital and at the loot house long ago. Frederica's role remains unclear to Subaru in this loop, and that uncertainty, was she a traitor, a pawn, or a protector with a plan, burns at him as much as Elsa's knife, because every minute he spends guessing is a minute he cannot use to rescue Petra, Rem, and Beatrice. Each loop amplifies the strain between the need to confront the mansion threat and the duty to free the sanctuary through the trials, making each choice feel like abandoning one side of the people he vowed to save. Subaru understands that if he cannot bring Beatrice out of the library by becoming the someone she expects, then the mansion will stay a battlefield that kills people he loves, no matter how fast he runs back there. After dying again, Subaru returns to the same restart point in the tomb right after passing the trial of the past, and he sees Emilia once more, asleep and distressed, but he is stunned by his own reflex to check first if his hands and Petra's handkerchief are intact before tending to Emilia's pain. The shock reveals how return by death is corroding his heart, blowing holes in his priorities by forcing him to survive catastrophe after catastrophe and making him numb to others for brief moments. In the previous run, outside the tomb and near the sanctuary, he was devoured by a stampede of demon beasts known as the Great Rabbit, chewed, eaten, and erased, his body and soul torn apart, a death so absolute that even remembering it nearly breaks his mind. The afterimage of being eaten remains inside him like a living nightmare, and his body convulses on the tomb floor as he slams his head to jar his thoughts back into order, trying to escape the feeling that he is still being consumed. His soul keeps repeating why, refusing reality, asking why such a thing had to happen, and how he can act when his decision-making is frozen by terror, until a whisper calls to him once again from somewhere not of the tomb. The voice tells him he has regained the qualifications and invites him to the witch's tea party, and in a blink, his soul is cut away from the tomb's reality and carried into that other place. Subaru understands he cannot endure the trauma of that devouring without help, because the feeling of being eaten does not fade like pain. It clings to him and gnaws at his sanity with each breath he takes afterward. The tea party setting is a grassy hill under a bright sky with a white table and chairs, and across from him sits Echidna, the witch of greed, with long black clothes, curious eyes, and a sly smile, greeting him as if he is a rare guest invited twice. She hints that the tea he drank before calms and stabilizes his witch factor enough to restore his cool here, and maybe even outside if he can remember this place, but vows bind his memory of her and make him forget when he leaves. Subaru asks if the vow can be rewritten, because forgetting Echidna each time is breaking him, and he admits he also wants to remember her for its own sake, not just to stay calm. Echidna teases him, but admits she pulled him in because his mind was about to shatter, and she wants to hear him out and smack him around a bit with truths he needs to face. The trials have 3 parts, and Subaru only cleared the first, the past, while Emilia faces the same, but her past is a deep wound that crushes her. So every reset forces Subaru to balance her heart against urgent bloodshed at the mansion. He realizes that even if he passes all trials himself, it may betray Roswaal's political plan and Emilia's growth. And if he honors that plan, it could cost Petra's life and Beatrice's soul. So he needs a new path that saves both fronts together. The tea party becomes that chance to gather courage, knowledge, and a way to negotiate with both fate and people, even as Echidna's motives are not simple kindness, but an appetite for learning and observing him. Echidna explains what she can about the trials and about Beatrice's gospel, saying the book that Beatrice clutches has not truly updated for 400 years, which means Beatrice has been waiting without guidance for the one who fits the words she holds in her heart, not a page. Beatrice's mother is the one who bound her to that library in that waiting. Subaru understands it as Echidna's will, and Beatrice has found meaning only in obeying that will, which is why his casual plea to choose me sounded cruel to her. Echidna offers him a contract with her, promising knowledge, ideas, and answers. In her words, everything she knows, in exchange for allowing her to keep watching and using him as a vessel for her curiosity and plans. Subaru sees the appeal because each loop tears people apart, and her help could solve the trials, save the mansion, stop the Great Rabbit, and free Beatrice by becoming the one she can accept without breaking her heart. But Echidna's greed is not gentle, and her solutions can ignore people's feelings if they increase the chance of success. So Subaru hesitates, sensing a trap hidden in a bargain that looks perfect for a desperate person like him. The other witches attend the tea party in this arc: proud Typhon, soothing Minerva, sleepy Sekhmet, terrifying Daphne, and shy Carmilla, and their different reactions to Subaru and Echidna warn him that a deal may not be what he dreams it is. In this calm but dangerous place, he sees the shape of many paths: beat the trials in Emilia's place, coach Emilia to pass them herself, outwit Garfiel and Ryuzu, recruit help for the mansion, and confront Beatrice with a promise that is not a lie. The tea party turns when Satella, the Witch of Envy, appears in its final movement with a flood of emotion and says, "I love you," again and again, like an unstoppable tide, fixing her love on Subaru's existence rather than his actions. Her presence crushes the table's calm, and even Echidna is wary. But Satella's words pierce Subaru's self-loathing and fear, forcing him to look at the part of himself that thinks he deserves to be cursed forever, and also the part that wants to live and be loved. The name Satella returns the weight of the past disasters to him. Yet her "I love you" is not a puzzle to solve. It is a mirror that keeps showing him value when he wants to call himself worthless. And that contradiction shakes him harder than any blade. The tea party ends with Subaru driven out by forces beyond his control, carrying new resolve and new dread, and he returns to the tomb with a steadier mind and a heart that refuses to surrender, even if he is still terrified. He now knows he must win Beatrice's heart with a true answer to her waiting, not with tricks, and he must give Emilia both help and space so she can stand on her own at the end. He also knows the Great Rabbit cannot be fought like a normal enemy, Elsa cannot be overpowered head-on, and Garfiel cannot be browbeaten into agreement. So his path is a web of timing, allies, and promises kept. With that, he sets his next loop's priorities: secure Petra, coordinate with Frederica, reach Beatrice with the right words, prepare an answer to the Great Rabbit, and keep the sanctuary moving toward freedom without breaking Emilia any further. In this volume's friend, Subaru's bond with Otto Suin becomes a lifeline, because Otto, who calls himself a simple traveling merchant, chooses Subaru as his friend and acts on it when Subaru is at his lowest. Otto watches Subaru argue with everyone and keeps silent burdens until he cracks, and Otto steps in not with pity, but with a clear head and a stubborn will to help, even when that draws Garfiel's anger or puts him in danger. Otto judges Subaru's proposal about freeing the villagers as sound, and he also sees that Garfiel and Ryuzu have reasons to insist on Emilia clearing the trials for the sake of peace after the barrier's gone. So he works to bridge those sides rather than inflame them. He also becomes Subaru's accomplice in creating time and paths, whether by keeping Emilia company when Subaru must leave, or by pushing Subaru to stop running from hard promises, like the ones he owes Beatrice and Ram about Rem. Otto's "because you are my friend" is not a grand speech, but a steady hand that makes Subaru accept help. And that acceptance becomes part of Subaru's strategy going forward, since he cannot be everywhere or carry every weight alone. With Otto's backing, Subaru can split his attention. He asks Roswaal to present the hostage release plan, leans on Garfiel to guard Emilia, relies on Ram as combat aid on the mansion trip, and keeps thinking about the third force he needs to handle Elsa and the Great Rabbit. Friend reframes Subaru's fight as a chain of people who choose him as much as he chooses them, And that shift is what lets him try to save Beatrice with a promise that is about choosing her first, not about using her. Meanwhile, Subaru keeps his promise to Ram to speak of Rem whenever he can, naming her, describing her, and refusing to let the world's fog erase her entirely, which makes Ram's chest ache in ways she cannot explain. Subaru believes those aches are proof that Rem still exists beyond sleep and missing memories, and that belief strengthens his habit of tying every plan to the goal of bringing Rem back, just as strongly as rescuing Petra and freeing Emilia. Petra's growth and courage also become a reason to hurry, because Subaru sees that leaving her in danger is not buying time. It is gambling with a child who trusts him, and that is a bet he refuses to make again after seeing Elsa's blade. Frederica's crystal, like Garfiel's, suggests a hidden bond in a test, so Subaru intends to speak to her directly to learn whether her movements protect the mansion's people or serve some other master. Every loop, Subaru refines the order. Stabilize Emilia after the trial nights. Secure villagers released to lower tensions. Cut travel time with Patlish. And confront Beatrice before Elsa turns the library into a final stand. He knows he will still face the Great Rabbit if the sanctuary's night goes wrong. So he files Echidna's hints about how to beat swarms that multiply and devour endlessly, saving that fight for when he can set the field on his terms. In short, Friend shows Subaru learning to accept help and build a path that uses trust as a tool, not only grit, and that shift is the hinge of his next actions. The volume's last movement, Love, 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 Love You, centers on Satella's repeated confession and the way it forces Subaru to see himself, not as a tool of return by death, but as a person someone can love without reasons. Satella's presence is suffocating and tender at once, a paradox that frightens Echidna and confuses Subaru, because it does not give him data or tactics, only a mirror that says live, even when he thinks he only deserves to die again to reset everyone's pain. By hearing those words, Subaru can admit the truth he kept bearing. He wants to save everyone and also survive with them, not just be a disposable restart button, and that desire is not a sin even if he still pays terrible prices. That change reshapes his approach to Emilia, because he stops trying to steal her trial to spare her, and instead decides to support her so she can pass, while he handles the mansion and Beatrice. It also reshapes his approach to Beatrice, because he chooses to be the one by asking her to live for herself, not for a page. The tea party closes with Subaru refusing an easy contract that would drown him in Echidna's endless answers, and embracing a harder road made of human bonds, timing, and words that will hurt to say, but are real. He returns to the tomb with his mind steadier and his plan clearer. Free the villagers through Roswaal's channel, guard Emilia's heart through the trial nights, ride fast with Ram to the mansion, secure Petra, face Frederica honestly, reach Beatrice with a true promise, and prepare counters for Elsa and the Great Rabbit. The book leaves him on the edge of those choices, stronger for his friend's help and the witches' revelations, and bound to a vow made in his own words rather than anyone else's book, ready to connect every detail from sanctuary to mansion without leaving anyone behind.